In this question, we need to drag each of the three equations, three graphs, and three table of values into the correct category and label them as being quadratic or non-quadratic functions. Let's start with our first equation. F of x is equal to x squared plus x cubed plus 3. Since the highest exponent here is x cubed, it is not a quadratic function, so therefore we'll put it in the non-quadratic category. Next, the function f of x is equal to negative x minus 2 plus 3. The x is raised to a power of 1, so therefore it is a linear function, and it is not quadratic. And then finally, notice that this function right here is almost the exact same as this function that we just dealt with. The only difference is it's raised to the power of 2. Whenever it's raised to the power of 2, it must be quadratic. Let's take a look at our three graphs. Our first graph here, notice, has a parabolic shape. Whenever that's the case, it must be quadratic. You'll notice that this is basically the same for this function like so. The only difference is that this first function that we dealt with has a leading coefficient, or an a value, that would be negative, whereas this a value would be positive. Our last graph is known as a cubic function. A cubic function has a local maximum and a local minimum, so therefore it is not quadratic. Finally, let's take a look at our three table of values. Notice this first table of value. The input value negative 3 produced an output of 9, an input value of negative 2 produced an output of 4, and so on. What we can see here is that the input values have been squared. Negative 3 squared is 9, negative 2 squared is 4, which works for all of them. Since they're being squared, we know that this must be a quadratic function. Next, we have this function. The input value, negative 3 produced 3, negative 2 produced 2. Since these clearly are not being squared, we're maybe not sure what type of function it is, but we're positive it's not a quadratic function. And then finally, for this table of values right here, you'll notice that regardless of what the input value is, the output value is always 2. This is known as a constant function, which is a type of a linear function. And so therefore, we can drag that one into the non-quadratic category. Let's check our solutions, and we are correct.